A man and woman engage in sex, without protection, willingly. The woman carries the child for roughly a year and the government does not require the man to pay during that year. After that year he is required to pay for roughly 20 years. From a strictly equitable viewpoint, would not the woman be getting the better end of the deal if the man required her to have the child and he raised it and paid for it for 20 years while she only had to deal with the pregnancy for a single year? She pays for the birthing year, along with all the medical costs, and he pays for the rest of the raising on his own, while they both get to reproduce. Whereas, the way it is now, she pays for the birthing year and they both pay for the raising years. If she does not want the child, she can terminate it regardless of his wishes. This may be the only child he gets to have, while she can always choose to have another with him or someone else. The right to choose is not his own, it is currently hers and hers alone. So would not a better system be that men get to choose whether or not they want to have a child with a particular woman? Then, if the man chooses for the woman to have his child, the man is required to pay for the child. If the man chooses not to have the child, then he is required to pay for the termination of the child, or, she is required to pay for the raising of the child entirely herself. Seems fairer since the choice to have sex, i.e. mate with someone, was a willing act engaged in by both, thus inferring that they deemed each other to be worthy reproductive partners. This is reinforced by the decision to have had the sex in an unprotected fashion. Remember, this may have been his only chance to reproduce, and since he did not force her to have sex, her agreement to reproduce with him was implied by engaging in the sex act willingly as well. The contrary is currently that even if he does not want her to be the mother of his child, he is forced to comply with her choice. All the reproductive power is in her hands and he is implied a benefit by being forced to pay for the child, while society says that he should be grateful that he was allowed to reproduce at all since so many men go without reproduction. He is held to the fact that he made a willing choice to have sex with her and that it was this choice, and the benefit of not only her sexual pleasure but also her gift of reproduction, that he is now paying for. This should negate all feminist claims that she was in it just for the sexual pleasure. This should also address the claim that if he did not want to have a child with her, he should have taken some extreme precautions like getting fixed beforehand, because, so should she have. The power to choose to reproduce is currently entirely in a woman's hands, and, added to this is, the power to financially enslave a man, when that same power and right is not granted to the man. This is not equal by its nature. If this is so, and feminists eventually cite some kind of life is not fair statement, then this just negates all their other equality, government-enforced wage fixations, and diversity quota issues that feminists have. If life is not fair for a man, and his reproductive choices, then life is not fair for women either, and if the government is not required to rectify male inequalities, then the government is not required to rectify female inequalities. Signed, M. Jolan True.